सवाल आपके, जवाब सीधे मेंटोर से। नमस्कार, आप सुन रहे हैं माइक पे मेंटोर, प्रेजेंटेड बाय मेरी वाली जॉब चैनल। आज के सेशन में हम वेलकम कर रहे हैं एक्स क्रिस्प फेलो को, जिन्होंने इस प्रेस्टिजियस फेलोशिप का सफर तय किया है और अब गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया के एक इम्पोर्टेंट ऑफिस में एक्टिवली सर्व कर रही हैं। उनकी आइडेंटिटी को कॉन्फिडेंशियल रखा गया है, इसीलिए हम उनका नाम और डेजिग्नेशन डिस्क्लोज नहीं कर रहे हैं। ये सेशन स्पेशली उन कैंडिडेट्स के लिए डिजाइन किया गया है जो क्रिस्प फेलोशिप के लिए अप्लाई करना चाहते हैं, लेकिन कई डाउट्स और कंफ्यूजन से गुजर रहे हैं। फ्रॉम एलिजिबिलिटी टू एक्सपेक्टेशंस, एप्लीकेशन टिप्स टू रियल लाइफ इंसाइट्स, आज आपके सवालों के जवाब मिलेंगे डायरेक्टली फ्रॉम समवन हु इज बीन देयर एंड डन दैट। तो चलिए शुरुआत करते हैं इस इंटरेक्टिव और इंफॉर्मेटिव सेशन की। सो लेट्स गिव अ वार्म वेलकम टू आवर एक्सपर्ट।
थैंक यू सो मच फॉर द वेरी वार्म वेलकम। मुझे इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे मेरी क्रिस्प फेलोशिप जर्नी के बारे में बात करना बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है। जब भी मुझे अपने क्रिस्प फेलोशिप के बारे में बात करने का मौका मिलता है, मैं उसे बहुत ही मीनिंगफुल अपॉर्चुनिटी मानती हूँ, क्योंकि वो 2 साल मेरे लिए प्रोफेशनली भी और पर्सनली भी काफ़ी ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव रहे। और उस फेलोशिप ने मुझे नॉट जस्ट गवर्नमेंट सिस्टम्स बट ग्रास रूट रियलिटीज़ को भी एक अलग तरीके से देखना सिखाया। और आज यहाँ इस प्लेटफॉर्म पर उस जर्नी को रिफ्लेक्ट करने का, अपनी लर्निंग्स और एक्सपीरियंसेस को शेयर करने का मौका मिल रहा है, तो नेचुरली आई एम जेन्युइनली एक्साइटेड फॉर दिस कन्वर्सेशन। आई होप जो भी मैं शेयर करूँ वो उन लोगों के सामने आ जाए जो फेलोशिप के बारे में सोच रहे हैं, या फिर जो इस तरह के गवर्नेंस एंड डेवलपमेंट स्पेसेस में काम करने चाहते हैं। सो वंस अगेन थैंक यू फॉर हैविंग मी। आई एम लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड टू दिस डिस्कशन।
डाइविंग इनटू द वर्ल्ड ऑफ क्रिस्प फेलोशिप, जो कि एक रिसर्च फेलोशिप में आती है, और हर वो कैंडिडेट जो इसके बारे में सुनता है तो सबसे पहले यही सोचता है कि क्या ये फेलोशिप मेरे लिए है, वेदर एम आई एलिजिबल फॉर दिस और नॉट। तो मैम, सबसे पहले आप हमें इसकी एलिजिबिलिटी क्राइटेरिया के बारे में थोड़ा बताएं।
So, when it comes to who can apply for the CRISP fellowship, if you look at the criteria, it is designed to be both inclusive and also merit driven, I would say. The eligibility criteria is actually quite straightforward in that sense. You need to have at least a bachelor's degree and a reasonably good academic background, as simple as that. However, if you have done your academic background from a premier institution, then you actually stand a good chance of getting through the screening process. Also, what really matters the most is if you have been involved in some sort of an activity, some meaningful engagement in the academic journey during your college days. For example, आपने कुछ internship किए होंगे, या तो आप कुछ volunteering experience है आपके पास, or if you have taken up some leadership roles during your college days, then it would actually put you in an advantageous position. This is what I would say from my experience. Also, who this fellowship is meant for, that is also a very important question for you to decide whether you need to apply for this fellowship or not. I would say that this fellowship is actually designed for early career professionals. So, as per the eligibility criteria, up to 2 years of relevant work experience after graduation is required. It is this fellowship, the way they have stated the eligibility requirements and everything, states that it is quite evolving based on the experience of the previous cohorts. So, because so that you're able to interact with the functionaries over there and also the people, especially when you carry out the field visit. And beyond whatever is a basic eligibility criteria, there are some competencies that actually help you perform well during your fellowship journey. From my own journey, I can definitely say that having some exposure to the field, especially the sector that you want to work on, the sector that you have already been working on, some sort of an exposure in that field that you have chosen makes a really big difference because it helps you hit the ground running. Another important skill set that is sought for is data analysis for sure. Because as a CRISP fellow, you would be working mostly with the governments. And in that case, to be able to analyze data and provide insights is a very sought after skill set. So if someone is already familiar with that, that is definitely an advantage, I would say. And again, you need to have solid skills in MS Office, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint because a lot of work involves analyzing data, preparing presentations, and writing reports. So when I say data analysis, I don't mean some complex coding necessarily, but you should be able to work with the data and draw insights from it to support the decision making process. Because as a CRISP fellow, you would be working with the governments, especially the state government. And above all, most importantly, something that I feel very strongly about is the passion. That's the most important thing that they actually look for when you apply for this fellowship, the passion for social change. Because during your fellowship, you are placed right at the intersection of governance and community, and you get to really see the impact of your work. So it's important to have that drive from within, that commitment to actually make the difference is what truly sustains you as a CRISP fellow.
अगला सवाल जो काफ़ी कैंडिडेट से मुझे रिसीव हुआ है वो ये कि क्या इसमें जो नंबर ऑफ वैकेंसीज हैं वो इंक्रीज होने के चांसेस होते हैं या नहीं, या फिर लोकेशन की चॉइस या प्रेफरेंस का ऑप्शन इसमें होता है या नहीं.
So, regarding the number of vacancies, in my experience, the number is usually fixed. For example, this time it is 15 positions. It's likely to remain 15. Sometimes there may be a small variation, plus or minus one, maybe, based on the specific state requirements or project needs, but it doesn't increase dramatically. The fellowship is quite selective, I would say, and very competitive. And the cohort size is intentionally kept small so that each fellow gets meaningful and focused work. Um, Regarding the deployment and state preferences, during the application stage itself, during the previous cohorts, in the application stage itself, there was an option given to indicate the preferred states for deployment. And those preferences were genuinely considered during the state allocation to the fellows. One important factor that they keep in mind is your proficiency in the local language, because you would be interacting with district officials, line department functionaries, frontline workers, communities. Knowing the local language really helps, and so they try to place you where you can actually communicate effectively. And if you talk about the nature of deployment, most fellows work very closely with the state governments and the concerned departments where they would be embedded in. It is usually the case that you are attached to one particular department in the state based on the nature of your project. For example, if someone has a background in education, then they are likely to be placed with the school education department or higher education department based on whatever the project needs are and based on one's prior experience also. Similarly, if your experience is in livelihoods or rural development, then you might be deployed in rural development department of the state. So the idea is to actually align your strength with the project needs. Then regarding the kind of projects, teamwork and mentorship, each fellow normally works on one or more core projects individually, but sometimes there are also collaborative assignments where a group of, say, two or three people work together. So your ability to work both independently and as part of a team really matters. Some projects are deeply field oriented, so sometimes the projects involve only desk research, data analysis, and preparing data insights for decision making. So it's a mix, I would say. It's a mix of both field oriented projects as well as desk research. Um, so that is about the nature of the projects. Then one thing I really appreciate about the fellowship is the mentorship aspect of it. Fellows are guided by senior retired bureaucrats and sometimes by other domain experts who help you navigate the system, they help you refine your the outputs, and they help you strengthen your approach. So the mentorship really enhances one's learning experience for sure.
मैम इसमें एक सवाल और जो कैंडिडेट्स को बड़ा परेशान करता है वो है कि इसके नोटिफिकेशन में रिगरस सिलेक्शन प्रोसेस लिखा है, जिसे सुन के या पढ़ के बहुत से कैंडिडेट्स अप्लाई ही नहीं करते हैं। तो आप इसके सिलेक्शन प्रोसेस के बारे में थोड़ा ब्रीफ करें।
So in terms of the preparation, the selection process looks slightly rigorous only from outside. If you actually understand what they're assessing, then the preparation becomes quite structured, I would say. Um, Honestly speaking, in our cohort, there was no such MCQ test. So I won't be able to comment in detail on what the MCQ test entails and what they expect out of the candidates there. The structure seems to have changed a lot this year. So the candidates will have to rely on the updated guidelines given in the notification. And but definitely, essay round, that was a major part of our selection process as well. So the essay round mainly intends to test how well the candidate understands the key issues in the development sector, especially the socioeconomic issues. So they're mainly looking at how well you can analyze a development problem, and how you're able to logically structure your thoughts, and how you can clearly communicate your arguments. So it's definitely not about fancy vocabulary or jargons. It's about the clarity and the depth that you carry in your essay. And it really helps if the candidates familiarize themselves with some of the key policy issues of today, and some of the themes that really shape the social sector conversations. So it's important that the candidates familiarize themselves about these topics, be it in the education sector or rural livelihoods, public health, local governance, a lot of these conversations which hold relevance today. These are some of the topics that you need to prepare yourselves. Um, then, what I wanted to also say is you don't have to be an expert. Just a broad awareness of what the challenges are and what the governments are trying to address, that is enough. It will help you write better essays, and it also shows maturity in your thinking. In the last cohorts, we had group discussion as well, but this year it is not included in the selection process. So, when it comes to the interview, this time there are two stages. One is the on demand virtual interview, and then the final interview by the CRISP leadership team. So, when it comes to interview, the most important preparation that one can have is self reflection, I would say. You need to be very clear in your thoughts as to why you want to join the fellowship and what experiences have shaped your interest in the development sector, particularly in the project that you want to be part of, the sector that you want to work in, and how you approach problem solving. So, the interview panel definitely looks for authenticity, sincerity in your answers, and your ability to think through the complex issues calmly and logically, and how you approach the problems in the development sector. So, overall, even though the structure looks slightly different this year, the underlying expectation remains the same. If you understand the key policy and development issues, think clearly, and if you can express your thoughts well, you will be able to navigate the selection process confidently.
Moving forward, many of the candidates also want to know about its interview process. कैसा रहता है, किस तरीके के क्वेश्चंस आते हैं और क्या प्रिपेयर करके जाना चाहिए? What are they actually looking for in a candidate?
So, the interview round is comprised of two stages this year. The last cohorts had a single stage interview. This year, there are two stages. The first interview is for the top 300 candidates. It is an on demand virtual interview in which the system will pose questions which you will have to answer. And then, followed by this, is a final interview for the top 50 candidates by the CRISP leadership team. So, if you look at the process, it's quite competitive and very well structured, but the interviews as such are not very intimidating. They are generally conversational in nature. So, in terms of how it actually feels during the interview, it's not about grilling you on your knowledge. Basically, they're trying to understand your thought process, how you think, and how you approach problems in the development sector, and why do you want to work in the development sector. Most of the questions generally revolve around your motivation as to why you want to pursue this fellowship and what draws you to the governance and public systems, and how you hope to contribute over the next 2 years. So they're trying to see a clarity of purpose and thoughts and genuine interest. So that's what the interview tests you for. Um, and another important part of the interview is your understanding of the key development sector issues, because the fellows work on some of the development challenges that we face at the grassroots. The interview generally touches upon these areas, be it education, be it public health, or local governance, rural livelihoods. So these are some of the areas. So you will have to be very well versed about your the sector that you have worked upon in your previous experience. So they might ask you uh, about a certain challenge, especially in the sector that you have applied for, uh, upon which you have experience, and what you believe the gaps are, and how would you approach a problem on the ground. So they're not looking for textbook answers, but answers that are um, that draw upon your previous experience, just your ability to analyze an issue and express your thoughts clearly. Definitely, the interview will explore your past experiences and also your fellowship, your internships, your volunteering experience if you have any. So the idea is to understand your exposure um, to the sector that you want to work on, your approach to problem solving, how do you handle the challenges, and how committed you are, most importantly, to working with the communities and the government systems. Uh, since the fellowship involves collaborating with the state departments and senior officials, they also observe how you communicate, how balanced you are, and whether you can engage in a thoughtful conversation, things like that. So, in essence, what they look for is your analytical ability, your clarity of thought and expression, your problem solving approach, and most importantly, your passion for social change. Um, so, in terms of preparation for the interview, I would suggest two or three simple things. First, it's very important to spend some time reflecting on your motivation, why you want to be a CRISP fellow, what you hope to learn from there, and what skill sets you bring to the table. And second, you need to be familiar with key policy and development issues in the sector that you have previously worked on, and the sector that you would want to contribute to, the projects that you want to contribute to, not in a very technical way, but just to show your awareness and the ability to think with clarity, ability to analyze and express. And the third thing is to revisit your own experiences, your former experience, your previous internship, volunteering experience. So, what are your learnings from there, and what are the challenges you have faced? And what are the key moments that shaped your interest in that particular sector? So that is all about the interview process. If you're clear in your thinking and grounded in your purpose and motivation, then I'm sure you will find the interview quite comfortable.
आफ्टर क्लियरिंग द इंटरव्यू कैंडिडेट्स के हाथ में एक ज्वाइनिंग लेटर होता है, बट फिर भी उनके अंदर एक एक्साइटमेंट है ये जानने की कि इस फेलोशिप का इन्वॉल्वमेंट कैसा रहता है, फेलोज में कितना इंटरेक्शन रहता है, किस तरीके के ओरिएंटेशंस और ट्रेनिंग सेशंस रहते हैं, क्या कुछ इसमें नया सीखने को मिलता है।
So, as soon as you join the fellowship, the environment that you are exposed to is actually very, very enriching. The first thing that happens as soon as you join is a very good orientation program. That is something that I really appreciate. So, during the orientation, the sessions are generally conducted by the retired senior bureaucrats and eminent resource persons who have decades of experience. And there are also sessions that take you through the basics of what CRISP as an organization is, its vision and its mission, and what is the philosophy behind the fellowship, the states in which the CRISP organization is currently working in, and the kind of projects that are currently ongoing. So it gives you a clear understanding of the ecosystem that you're stepping into. And another valuable part of the orientation is your interaction with the previous cohorts. So you get to meet the cohorts of the former batches. You also get to hear their journeys, the challenges they faced, the kind of projects, the kind of work they handled. And those conversations are very, very grounding because they give you a real sense of what to actually expect on the field during the fellowship. And then, of course, there is a cross learning definitely that happens within your own cohort, because the fellows, they come from very diverse backgrounds. So when all those perspectives come together in one room under one roof, the discussions become very rich. You learn a lot simply by listening to how your other fellows, your co-fellows, analyze a problem or approach a particular project. So that diversity of experience really adds to your learning trajectory. And during the orientation, the focus is not only on bombarding you with the information, it is also about preparing you for the kind of work that you will be doing during the fellowship. How do you think systematically? How do you work with the government departments? How do you navigate the ground realities that you get to witness on the field? And how to maintain professionalism. So the orientation sets the tone for the fellowship journey, I would say. Even after the orientation, the journey, the learning process does not stop. There is a continuous interaction with your cohort, with other teams working in other states, and regular mentoring by the senior CRISP leadership, and exposure to different departments. So every week, every field visit that you undertake, every meeting that you attend teaches you something new. So yes, there is a lot of scope for learning and for doing new things, uh, both technically, also personally. So overall, I would say the environment is quite growth oriented and intellectually very, very stimulating as well. So you're constantly on the learning curve about the governance systems, about people, and definitely a lot about yourself also.
ये तो हो गई ज्वाइनिंग की बात। अब अगला सवाल है कि ज्वाइनिंग के बाद जब फेलोज वहां काम कर रहे हैं एंड आफ्टर अ मंथ उनके अकाउंट में जो सैलरी आती है तब कैसा फील होता है? एंड क्या ये अमाउंट एग्जैक्टली 75,000 ही आता है या डिडक्ट होके आता है? तो अप्रोक्सीमेटली इन हैंड कितना आ जाता है?
Regarding the salary, honestly, this is everyone's favorite question. After joining, when you complete your first month of work, field visits, your meetings, and all of that, and then suddenly your phone buzzes saying salary credited, it genuinely feels very amazing, no doubt about that. और साथ ही एक छोटा सा प्राउड फीलिंग भी होता है कि हाँ मैंने मीनिंगफुल काम करके पैसे आ रहा है. So the excitement and a little pride and a sense of responsibility also all mixed together. That's the feel. And then coming to the amount. So the brochure mentions 75,000 per month, but of course, the in hand is usually lesser than that. It all depends on your tax planning and your exemptions. So थोड़ा ऊपर नीचे भी हो सकता है, मतलब generally it is around 68 to 70,000 ऊपर नीचे हो सकता है depending on your tax declarations. So the good part is that your field travel expenses are reimbursed separately, so that doesn't cut into your salary. So the reimbursements are generally very regular, so there's no worry about that. Overall, it's a very good feeling. Salary भी आ रही है और साथ ही you're doing work that actually creates impact. So it's that perfect mix of खुशी and satisfaction.
नेक्स्ट सवाल जो कि काफी लोगों के माइंड में आता है और जिसकी वजह से शायद बहुत से कैंडिडेट्स इसे अप्लाई भी नहीं करते, वो ये कि इसमें 2 साल का कमिटमेंट मांगा है, जो कि एक लॉकिंग पीरियड की तरह फील होता है। तो इन बिटवीन अगर किसी कैंडिडेट के पास कोई अच्छी और बेटर अपॉर्चुनिटी आती है तो क्या वो इस फेलोशिप को बीच में छोड़ सकता है? और अगर हाँ, तो क्या प्रायर कंडीशंस और क्या पोस्ट इफेक्ट रहते हैं?
This is another very common question. The fellowship generally asks for a 2-year commitment, but many candidates think that it's some kind of a lock-in period. There's nothing such. It's not a bond. It's simply the nature of the program. CRISP designs long-term projects, usually spanning over 1 to 2 years with the state governments. And fellows are placed on those roles that require continuity. That is why the 2 year duration is emphasized. Now, the practical question is if someone can leave in between if they get a better opportunity. So, yes, you can leave definitely. There is no restriction in that sense. But there are certain implications that candidates should be aware of. If a fellow quits before completing the full 2 years, they receive a work certificate, which basically states the duration for which they worked and the responsibilities they handled. But to receive the official fellowship certificate, completing the 2 year term, the full 2 year term is essential. That certificate is issued only if you finish the entire 2 year program. When it comes to leaving midway, there is also a notice period. In our cohort, the notice period was 3 months, and that's pretty standard because there is also some time that is required to transition the responsibilities. So, yes, if you want to leave, you're free to do that, but it is important to understand the consequences. You won't be eligible for the fellowship completion certificate, and then you must serve the notice period. Apart from that, there is no other penalties. Overall, the 2 year commitment is required because the learning curve, the impact, it requires time. But if life gets you another opportunity, then there is a process to exit also.
आज के इस सेशन का आखिरी सवाल, क्योंकि आप एक एक्स फेलो रही हैं, इतने बड़े प्रोग्राम का पार्ट रही हैं, आपने ये फेलोशिप क्या सोच के ज्वाइन करी थी? व्हाट वाज योर मोटिवेशन एंड योर एक्सपीरियंस एंड हाउ यू फील अबाउट इट?
This question is very close to my heart because when I decided to join CRISP Fellowship, I was not just looking for a job. I was looking for an opportunity to do some really good, meaningful work. I wanted to understand how governance works and what the real development challenges are. And I wanted to contribute in a space that actually can shape people's lives. So, my motivation was very simple in that sense. I wanted to be in a role where my work had some purpose and I can create some impact. So, as an ex fellow of CRISP, when I look back, I feel that the fellowship gave me exactly what I wanted, or much more than that, maybe, because the kind of exposure that you get as CRISP fellow is something that very few programs in the country can offer you, because you get an opportunity to sit with the senior bureaucrats, to analyze large scale programs, to be able to go to the field, interact with the communities, identify the gaps in the implementation, and contribute to policy thinking. Um, it's a very, very enriching experience. It pushes you to grow, to evolve both intellectually and personally. So, my experience was a combination of learning and unlearning. And I learned how the government systems function, how the data insights contribute to policy making, and why it is important and how important it is to listen, to actually really listen to the people for whom the policies are made. These are some of the biggest takeaways that I had. And at the same time, I also learned to communicate better, to write better, to think more sharply. In terms of growth, I would say that this fellowship shapes you in every possible way. It shapes your analytical skills, it shapes your understanding of the sectoral issues, it shapes your approach to problem solving and your confidence. And much more than anything, it gives you a clarity about the kind of work that you want to do going forward in your life. So, this experience helped me immensely in my further assignments. The exposure that I got, the networking opportunities that I received while doing my CRISP fellowship, the mentorship, and all of it just opens the doors for you when you want to, whether you want to continue in the government advisory field, research, policy, um, development sector roles, or even if you want to do higher studies, this experience becomes your asset. So it gives you credibility, it gives you confidence. I genuinely feel grateful when I look back today at my fellowship journey, because I just wanted to do some meaningful work. But when I came out, I became a better person. I had a better professional identity and a clearer purpose. So for that, I will always be grateful to this journey.
आज के माइक पे मेंटोर सेशन को यही विराम देते हुए सबसे पहले हम अपनी एक्सपर्ट का तहे दिल से शुक्रिया करना चाहेंगे जो इतने शॉर्ट नोटिस पर मेरी वाली जॉब के इस सेशन से जुड़ी, अपने एक्सट्रीमली बिजी शेड्यूल के बावजूद हमारी रिक्वेस्ट को एक्सेप्ट किया। उन्होंने ना सिर्फ अपना वक्त दिया बल्कि अपने अनुभव, इनसाइट्स और ऑनेस्ट रिफ्लेक्शन के जरिए हम सभी को एक इनवैल्यूएबल पर्सपेक्टिव दिया जो किसी भी एस्पायरिंग कैंडिडेट के लिए एक रोड मैप से कम नहीं। थैंक यू सो मच मैम। आपकी गाइडेंस, सिंप्लिसिटी और सिंसियरिटी हम सभी के लिए ट्रूली इंस्पायरिंग है।
बहुत धन्यवाद, मुझे इसमें भाग लेने का मौका मिला। थैंक यू सो मच।